to becoming a great mental competitor, to be mentally better than your opponents, there are 3 areas. First and foremost, you're going to be disciplined. If you're not a disciplined competitor mentally, right, 0 chance. Doesn't matter what your skills are. Baseball, you can be the greatest pitcher. Tennis, you can be the biggest server, the biggest weapons. If you got no discipline, you're toast. At the highest level, you will not exist. You need to understand that. Number 2, the 3 mental pillars. Remember, number 1 is discipline. Number 2, mental toughness. When it gets tough, you get tougher. You get determined. But if you fade every time, guess what? The tough competitors are going to eat you up, like Jason. Number 3, you need to be informed, knowledgeable. You need to have a database up here. Tactical, strategical. I want to quickly talk about discipline. So yesterday I shared this picture. I think it was 11 years ago. I was at Halle in Germany, a grass court tournament. One of the top, there are 3 grass court junior tournaments in the year for juniors. Well, the 3 top ones. It was Halle, Germany. It was Roehampton, London, and then Wimbledon. So we went to Halle to prepare for Wimbledon. And I had 2 players with me. These 2 players, at this point, top juniors in the world. And the one kid was, when you look at his weapons, when you look at his game, he had the biggest serve on the junior circuit. All the coaches were saying, hey, this kid, man, biggest server out there. The other kid had a lot of discipline, had a lot of toughness in him, and he was very well informed. But he was not nearly as good as the other player. Not looking as spectacular. Fast forward 11 years. One of those players is currently playing, got to around 100 in the world, but he's still competing. The other player, the better player as a junior, is nowhere. One reason. Off the court discipline. Biggest reason. Because whenever his environment wasn't forcing him to be disciplined, and this is maybe one of the mistakes I made as a coach, to say, hey, you got to be disciplined because I'm telling you to be disciplined. No, it's not the coach that tells you to be disciplined. It's the coach that encourages you. Say, hey, become disciplined. Both of them were really good thinkers. But when it came to preparation, when it came to making adjustments, when it came to difficult moments in a match, the player that was disciplined with their thought process was the one that succeeded in the end. So critical thinking, what is critical thinking? It is what will separate you from other competitors in a good or in a bad way. It can go both ways. Because if your critical thinking is not good, you're going to make bad decisions under pressure. If it is good, if it is better than your opponent, and we know now that the top guys, they say the single one thing that separates the great from the rest is critical thinking under pressure. So when something doesn't go your way, you're a little bit out of your comfort zone. Things don't go the way you like for it to go. You're going to play a different style than you used to. What do? So the thing that most often steals critical thinking, and this is what you need to bypass first, is our emotions. If you can't get past your emotions, critical thinking is not possible. Because if you run by the feeler, it shuts down the critical thinking, the thinker. So my best advice for you, and this is not the discussion today, is push those feelings to the side. Accept them, feel them, but push them to the side and say, it's all right, it's okay to feel this way. Feelings are important. But what do I need to do here? I need clarity. I need the thinking brain to be in charge. And then the other thing that can steal critical thinking from you is not having a knowledge database, not being a student of the game. Because when you're in a difficult situation and you don't somewhere in your awareness field have a solution, or in your book at the change of ends, if you don't have that solution, guess what? You can try as hard as you want, but if you don't have the answer to that situation, only playing harder, tougher, is still not enough. Very important though. So, I want to then tell you that critical thinking doesn't just include you, how you feel, how you don't feel at that moment, what's happening, what's not happening with you. In tennis, it includes your opponent, and it includes the situation. Therefore, situational awareness, very important. Being aware, what is the scoreline right now? How's my opponent going to play? How's my opponent not going to play? So with critical thinking, we have to understand that it is not just your recipe, because my opponent influences my recipe by the way they're playing. So for that reason, when we think critically, we need to recognize and be aware of ourselves, our opponents, and the situation that we find ourselves in. And then we start asking some questions. This is where you need to jot these down, because these are the questions you're going to ask yourself in order to problem solve, in order to adapt, or even better, in order to keep being in front, to set the pace. Simple question, who? This is where you got to do your homework. Who am I playing? So before the match, critical thinking means it starts before the match. Who are you playing? You got to know about them. You got to get information about them. Who am I? And I'm going to do all these questions with all three important fields so that you can understand how critical thinking works. Who am I? What is my personality? What is my game style? What is my player ID? A lot of you guys don't know that, really. And that's a bit concerning. You gotta know yourself, you gotta know your player ID. You know what your final product's gonna look like. Can we ask who about the situation? Not necessarily. All right, what? That's the next question. Question 1 was who? Question 2 is what? What is my opponent doing? What are their strengths and their weaknesses? Okay? What about myself? What do I want to play like? And then what about the situation? Or my environment? What surface am I playing on? Am I playing on clay, grass, fast, hard court? Is the ball bouncing slow? Is it bouncing high? Are we playing at altitude? Then we get to the next question, where? Now, where? How does that apply to tennis? Where is my opponent playing from? Are they playing way behind the baseline? Are they playing inside the court? Okay, where are they heading the ball? By becoming aware of where they're heading, they go here, then they go there. I become aware of their patterns. Where am I playing from? Where should I be playing from? Where am I being forced to play by my opponent? Maybe my opponent's hitting an incredible heavy arc and they're pushing me back, and I'm playing from back here. And I'm still trying to hit winners. I'm still trying to hit aggressive, but I'm so far back that I don't realize now the percentages are against me. Okay, when? When are they losing patience? When are they pulling the trigger? Same for myself. When do I become impatient in the point? Okay? About this situation, when? When are we playing? Are we playing after a long rain delay? Are we playing early in the morning? Are we playing at night? Now, a lot of these are before or after the match. And what I'm saying to you is, if I'm a morning person, and we get scheduled in the morning, then okay, good. But now I'm getting scheduled late at night. Now we've had matches go on before they changed the rule, 10 o'clock at night. And if you're a morning person, now you've got to make some adjustments. You've got to adapt. Because when you're playing is important. And when you play determines how you warm up, how you lead into the match. Do you go for your morning run when you're playing at 8 a.m.? How do you warm up? Because you're playing that early. Because we know your body takes about 3 hours to reach its full flexibility and looseness. And especially if you played the day before. And especially when you get older. Why? Why is my opponent playing this way? Why are they doing this? Why am I missing? We'll talk about ourselves a little bit more with these questions. How? Again, how are they hitting the ball? Are they hitting a flat ball? Are they hitting a heavy ball? Are they able to hit it flat and heavy? Are they only hitting drives? Are they only hitting arcs? How deep does the backhand land? The backhand is solid, and they're not giving 3 points, but the ball bounce is short. It gives me that opportunity to transition. So see, there's a lot of things that we need to ask. And by asking the right questions, we can critically think and adapt. Adaptability for a tennis player is super important because it's cause and effect. I do this, and if it works, I push you back. Till you decide, okay, because of this, I'm going to do this. I'm going to find a way to do this differently, and that is tennis. You must accept that constant adapting is part of competition. So, what I see typically when players don't have a good day, they're having a bad day, and guess what? All the focus goes internal. The voice in the mind gets active. They start getting a little judgmental. Oh, it's a bad day. And now the forehand is missing. And all they're thinking about is, why am I not making the forehand? And they get into this mode of fixing. Now when you play tennis and you're in a mode of fixing, why is that a problem? There's a saying, you got to resist the urge to fix. Because now all of a sudden, you're fixing your execution, and you're starting to miss what is coming across the net. You're starting to miss what the opponent's doing, what the opponent's not doing. I'll give you a quick little example. I coached a young kid. He was 12 at this stage. And tall kid, so we decided we're going to take him to a one-handed backhand. He was tall, strong enough to do it. I recommended that we don't play tournaments, but the parents decided, no, we're going to play tournaments. So this player goes into the match a few weeks after switching to a one-handed backhand, and third point of the match, he just tightens up. He misses in the net. And now he's like, technically, he's trying to fix the backhand. Now he's not even timing the backhand because he's not watching the ball. He's so focused on himself, fixing his own backhand. Now I'm standing there and I'm watching the situation and I see the opponent. We know the opponent and I know the opponent's coach. And the opponent, at the same time, we realize also switched to a one-hander not long ago. But my player is so busy struggling with themselves, being internal with their focus. They don't see that the opponent's backhand is even worse than theirs. But the opponent stays a little bit aware, not internal with the focus, not busy fixing, and he sees that Jono is missing his backhand. And all of a sudden, he starts going around his backhand, he hits heavy balls to Jono's backhand, and Jono's dumping more and more on the net. So if Jono only looked across the net and he said, okay, I'm struggling with my backhand, let me move around, let me take this slice down the line, let me do something different, let me adapt. It is what it is right now. If he only saw that the opponent was struggling with his own backhand, he would have been tactically better in the match. So what I'm saying to you, critical thinking doesn't just include you. So when something in your shot doesn't happen, there's that saying, if I don't have a weapon, I'm going to pick up a rock, but I'm going to fight, I'm going to battle you. So if that forehand isn't working, for goodness sake, hit a few slices. Make a little adjustment. But don't just be with yourself. Understand, why is my forehand not working today? Yes, we had that awareness. But you must still consider the opponent. Let's take another scenario. My forehand isn't going well today. What about we switch play? We play the patterns where when the opponent comes to my forehand, we lower their percentages. So when they do come to the forehand, I get easier hits. So instead of staying back in the cross court where the opponent can stay on my forehand, why don't we take a slice down the line, force them to come into my backhand? There are so many ways that we can adapt if we critically think. But if you don't, you're at a disadvantage. So let me give you the 3 pillars again for mentally tough players. Discipline, not letting emotions run the show, meaning empowering the critical thinker, but that's just discipline in itself. Being mentally tough, we will have a further discussion on mental toughness, but also being informed. Because if I'm not informed, I don't have this database to call on. And by the way, that database that we're doing constantly in the mornings here, that we're giving you, you're gonna forget a lot of it. So this is why you're making notes on paper. Because when you're in that match, when you take your book out, you can read, but you can't take your phone out in the match because the guy's gonna tell you, hey, get off your phone. Not allowed in the match. And you're gonna forget. So take your book out when things don't go your way, because it will help you to critically think. And I'm gonna say it again. What separates you from the other top competitors and what will make you great in the end is both your critical thinking, your discipline, and your toughness. And when we combine these things and we take you out of your comfort zone a little bit, we're developing your character. So, how good are you at critically assessing a situation, thinking about it? One of the dangers is if you slap happy, you just slap a label on things, what I call judgmental. This is bad, this is good, oh, it's going terrible. That forehand was so bad. That's a sign that you're judgmental. And when you are judgmental, you're slapping a label on things and you're not understanding it. Be inquisitive, be perceiving. And the way we do that is ask questions. By asking questions, we solve situations. And that in a way is also winning a match. Because when you walk off that court, remember, you don't win matches in the beginning or in the middle. You win it when you find the solution, you find the answer. And the beauty of tennis gives you a second chance always. Be careful for ego, because ego is going to tell you, oh, you shouldn't be losing this match. And now you're just busy with how you feel. No, you're not taking care of business, or my opponent is doing something really well. What are they doing well? How do I take it away from them? By the way, we don't always just go to the weaknesses. If somebody's got a strength and I take that away, what do they fall back on? All right, you're hitting the big forehand today. I'm going to take it away. I'm going to lower your percentage. I'm going to get you to miss, and let's see how good the rest of the game is. That is critical thinking. Not like, oh, the forehand is killing me. So, we all get a long way to go with this. How do you improve your critical thinking? Perceiving mindset, question. Albert Einstein, one of the smartest people ever, said, never stop questioning. And that was probably one of the smartest things he ever said, but nobody ever recognized it. Question. You want to get to a solution? Ask the right questions. All right, guys, it's not easy. But if you can achieve this, you can achieve greatness with anything in life. I wish you guys all the best with that. Challenge yourself. Be smarter. Be more disciplined. Be tougher. Define yourself that way. Those are the three mental pillars for top competitors and achievers in life.